Welcome to Crimepedia. I am your host, Morgan, and with me, as always, is the best true crime podcast co-host in the world. It's
Yay!
one of my favorite people in the world. It's
Aw.
Cherry.
Hello.
Hi, Cherry. How
Thank
are
you for joining us. I'm good, thank you. I'm good. Wrapped up in a blanket, ready. I'm so excited about this case today. I'm really excited to hear all about it. So I'm ready.
You're
ready.
ready.
I am ready already.
Let's do
I know.
it now.
I'm really excited. So I was telling you, if you are thinking of getting your tickets to CrimeCon in Vegas, I was reading this weekend that the hotel prices have literally gone nuts because of the NFL draft. Obviously, when CrimeCon was booked, NFL draft hadn't been booked yet. And it's just gone absolutely mad. So that quite a few people have mentioned to me how expensive things are getting. So if you are thinking about going and staying in Vegas, you might want to look at doing that, at least getting it booked like now, if you're going to do that. Thankfully, we don't have the same problem with CrimeCon UK because we're all accessible. It's all good.
Yeah.
So yeah, tickets for both. If you want to go to CrimeCon UK, you can use our code Crimepedia, get yourself 10% off. And the same if you're going to Vegas and you want to get yourself 10% off there, because let's face it, it's going to cost you a little bit to stay. So save the money where you can, people. Use the code. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep.
Crazy.
So can't wait for that.
I know. I'm so excited. Really excited.
So, Cherry, this week we have a case from 1985. It's a little different from our other cases. So when we do our cases, we like to provide background information on the victim, right? And sometimes it's harder than others. In the case that we're going to be doing today, it was not difficult at all to get background information. So we have a lot to go through and a lot to talk about.
Okay.
So let's jump right into it.
Let's go.
On June 23rd, 1985, a body was discovered off of Sunrise Highway 30 in Mount Laguna, California, along the eastern edge of the Cleveland National Forest in San Diego County. The female victim was found nude, beaten, and strangled. How she ended up discarded on the side of the road is a mystery. But the story leading up to her untimely death is one that was heavily entangled in police corruption. This is Crimepedia, and this is the murder of Donna Gentile. Okay, Cherry. So Donna Marie Gentile was born on August 22nd, 1962, to Ellen and Louis Gentile in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Both Ellen and Louis came from dysfunctional families and would become codependent on each other during their teenage years. When Ellen had Louis Jr. at 18 and Donna at 20, the two siblings were coming into a world with parents who themselves face emotional challenges. Ellen and Louis did their best to raise two children, but being in a troubled relationship, there was not much love to give in the home. Growing up, Donna was exposed to both verbal and physical abuse that occurred between her two parents. Donna often felt abandoned and unloved by her parents. When Ellen and Louis finally divorced in 1971, Donna would go with her mother, while Louis Jr., one of the only people she received love from, went with his father. Ellen and Donna would constantly be on the move, moving in and out of multiple apartments between Philadelphia and Bucks County, Pennsylvania. When Donna was 15, it seemed like she was finally settling down after Ellen married her second husband, and the two moved into his home in Levittown, Pennsylvania. But within the first week of moving into her new home, Donna would allege that there was inappropriate sexual advances occurring.
Oh, no.
After Ellen refused to believe the allegations, Donna would begin running away from home, drinking, and missing school.
That's horrible. Poor girl, bless her. Why do the parents never believe? So annoying.
In 1978, Donna would be placed into the Tabor Home for Children, which was a home for delinquent children in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. She would live there until March 1980, when she and a girlfriend would escape from the home and board a bus headed west for San Diego, California.
You can't blame her.
No, not at all.
It sounds like she had a real shit life to start with. Yeah. And then gets placed in a home for delinquents, which let's face it, is never really a welcoming, loving place when it's called a home for
No.
delinquents, is it?
No, not at all.
It's not described as it doesn't sound like a nice place. So, that's horrible.
So yeah, so you do what you think is
Yeah,
best. You
take
you
off.
get on a bus and you go to greener
Yeah,
pastures. In this
that's
case, it was
right.
California.
Yeah.
Now, when Donna arrived in San Diego, she was only 17 years old and only had a few dollars in her pocket. She had no skill to find a job, no car, and no place to live. But she was happy to be away from her life in Philadelphia. Without many options and out of sheer desperation, Donna made the choice to get into sex work.
The thing is, she's not got a lot of options, has she? She's
No.
unskilled. She's young. She's got nowhere to live. She's got no money. So she's going to resort back to the one thing that she can do that will earn
Mhm.
her some money. So you can see why she got into that work. And nobody ever wants to, but you can understand
Yeah.
how that's happened.
And it was her choice. She decided,
Yeah.
this is what I need to do to survive.
To get
And
money. That's right.
yeah, absolutely. She would start to work El Cajon Boulevard, San Diego's most famous area for guys to pick up prostitutes for sex. Between 1980 and 1985, Donna would be in and out of sex work, typically only falling back on it when regular work would fall through.
Yeah.
Now, she had hoped to work in the police field one day and had to work security for multiple companies in San Diego. But security jobs were not stable, and Donna would often find herself laid off.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So in America, if you were a sex worker, can you go on to become a police officer? Or would that be like, you can't?
It's probably you can't.
Right, okay.
In her
Okay.
case, definitely not, because we'll
Right,
get to it.
okay.
Because she would end up getting arrested multiple times for prostitution.
Right, okay, yeah. So if you've been a sex worker and nobody knows, and then you go on to be a police officer, I guess
Yeah.
you'd be all right. It's only if you've been actually in trouble and got yourself a
Mhm.
record for doing it, you wouldn't be able to.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Right, okay. Thank you.
So yeah, so anytime that she would find herself laid off from these jobs, Donna would find herself back on the streets and reaching out to past clients for dates. Now, Donna would first run into trouble with police on January 21st, 1981, when she was arrested for prostitution. Now, she would end up being arrested several times, where she would typically spend a few days in jail before going back to sex work. It was shortly after being arrested in March of 1981 that Donna would meet Officer Larry Averick of the San Diego Police Department. Now, at the time, Larry Averick had been with the San Diego Police Department since 1976 and had become a full-time officer the year prior after serving 4 years as a reserve officer. In March 1981, Averick was working the graveyard shift in an area south of the I-8 freeway. During his shift, he would stop for coffee at a 7-Eleven located at Central and University Avenues, where he would first encounter Donna. Donna was there with another woman, talking with a store clerk. After approaching the three women, Averick would ask if any of them had considered becoming a police officer. Donna would reply that she was and wanted to work vice. During their conversation, Officer Averick would offer to take Donna on a sponsored ride along, which Donna would accept. In order to do the ride along, Averick was required to get permission from his sergeant, and Donna was required to fill out a waiver form. After both were done, the ride along was scheduled for 3 days later. Now, during the time between their first meeting and the ride along, Donna was once again arrested for prostitution, but was
Oh,
able to bail herself out of jail prior to the ride along. Now, according to Officer Averick, during the ride along, he was unaware that Donna was a known sex worker and had just been arrested. Now, the two would take a dinner break during the ride along at the Taco King Mexican restaurant.
nice.
While there, some police officers from Averick's squad entered the restaurant and took notice of Averick and Donna.
Oh, dear.
Now, a few days later, Averick would receive a call from Sergeant Ed Sammons about a complaint filed against him for being out with a known sex worker. During a brief investigation, Sergeant Sammons would learn that Averick's ride-along was a prostitute and had just been arrested 2 days prior to the ride-along. While neither Larry Averick nor Donna stated that anything inappropriate occurred during the ride-along, Averick would still end up receiving a warning for failing to have his ride along complete an evaluation about what she had learned and observed during that ride along.
Oh, bless
Okay.
him.
Now, because of this warning, Averick was unable to receive any promotion with the San Diego Police Department.
Oh, really?
Yes. It
That's
would
harsh.
it would also mean that any additional incidents could lead to the department firing him.
Oh, wow.
After this incident, Donna and Larry Averick would run into each other on and off over the next few years. Now we're going to fast forward a little bit to 1984, when Donna would once again find her connected with another San Diego police officer. This time it was a lieutenant by the name of Carl Black. Now, Lieutenant Black would quickly take a liking to Donna and would do whatever he could to protect her. On
Oh,
multiple occasions, Carl Black would give Donna money and would pay for things such as legal fees and medical care.
that was nice of him.
On one occasion, Donna was invited by Lieutenant Black to go on a weekend trip to the Colorado River as a
Really?
date. Yeah, as a date with Sergeant Kevin Hargrove.
So he's trying to set her up with another copper.
Cop. Yeah. So at the time, Carl Black had another girlfriend,
Oh, air quotes.
air quote,
Yeah.
girlfriend. Now, and so he was setting her up with another sergeant.
Okay.
Now, accusations would later be made that these were regular excursions where cops would take sex workers for a getaway, and the officers would receive sexual favors in exchange for lighter sentences or other breaks.
No.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Now, Lieutenant Black would also help out Donna by intervening on her behalf after a third arrest for soliciting sex. With a third strike against her, Donna was facing 3 months prison sentence,
Eesh.
but Black was able to convince her probation officer to place her in a work furlough program, which allowed her to be released from jail during the day to work before returning back to the jail in the evenings.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Now, it was around this same time, Donna was approached by the San Diego Police Office of Internal Affairs, who recruited her to be an informant.
Oh no.
Now, in working with Internal Affairs, it was her job to snitch on dirty cops.
Oh no.
Yes. So she would take part in police sting operations and would be required to wear a wire so her conversations
Yeah.
with other cops could be recorded.
Oh no, that's not good, is it? You don't want to get into that kind of stuff.
It's not, but you got to think too with her and with her profession.
Yeah.
It's probably her best. This is probably
Yeah.
her best option, right?
Yeah, definitely. That's right.
Because
It's the best of a bad situation.
it protects her a little bit, right? If
Yeah.
she's working as an informant, it's gonna hopefully, in her mind, keep her out of trouble and keep her out of
Yeah.
jail.
Yeah. Oh, what a life, bless her.
It's, I mean, for such like 1984, what is she? She's early 20s
She's really
now.
young. I was going to say,
21.
2021. Yeah.
Already, this is a incredible young life that she has led. I mean,
Yeah.
by getting in San Diego when she was 17, now she's has
She's been through a
connections in the
lot, hasn't
police,
she?
and she's working as a informant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, in June 1984, Donna would once again encounter Larry Averick when they both ran into each other at a laundromat. Now, at the time, Donna had a bandage on her foot, and when asked about it, she would tell Averick that she had hurt it on the Colorado River trip with Lieutenant Black.
Oh.
Now, Donna would tell him that Lieutenant Black had taken her to the Yuma Medical Center for treatment and that he had paid for her medical expenses. Now, finding out that one of his superiors was engaged in a relationship with a sex worker who he had once gotten in trouble for having a relationship with,
Yeah.
infuriated him.
I bet. He's going to be really mad.
Oh, no, absolutely. Now, for Averick, he saw this as a way to potentially get revenge and to take down a superior who he viewed as a hypocrite. So As this encounter occurred right after Donna's third arrest and prior to Black setting her up in the work furlough program, Averick decided to see what more information he could get from Donna. So Donna then seen, okay, this opportunity to to get my, this 3-month prison sentence. Maybe I can get this taken care of.
Taken off, yeah.
She would give the impression to Larry Averick that she could give him photographic proof of the Colorado trip if he could write a letter on her behalf to the judge to help with her sentencing.
Oh my God, this is so twisted.
It's very, very twisted.
It is.
Now, Averick would agree and would give Donna the character witness letter that she had requested. However, Averick made sure that the letter that he wrote would not be admissible in court.
Oh, what a sneaky git.
Now, first, he attempted to just write the letter on the cardboard backing of one of its incident report forms.
Oh my God.
But then after Donna refused to accept that as a letter, Averick would then purposely omit items such as the date from his second letter.
Oh, that's sneaky.
Now, Donna would state that when Averick gave her the letter, he would also give her $50 and the two would have sex while he was in uniform.
Oh no, Averick, come on.
Yeah.
I want to slap him.
This is completely inappropriate in
it's
so many ways.
Totally inappropriate. Like, what's he even thinking?
I don't know.
It's he's really extorting her. It's not good, is it? He's taking advantage of her.
However, despite making a deal and receiving a character witness letter, Donna would never give Averick the photos that he desperately wanted.
Good. Well done, Donna. I thought you were going to say something different then. I thought you were going to say after receiving something like filthy.
Nope.
I thought it was going to be something different. Oh, good for her.
Donna never gave him any photos.
Good.
After being pressured and harassed by Averick for the photos, Donna decided to report the harassment by Averick and her relationship to Lieutenant Black to the San Diego Police Department Office of Internal Affairs in August 1984.
Trouble is, are they going to believe her? We're talking about officers here. Are they going to believe her?
Exactly.
But because of her profession or, the work that she's doing, are they going to look at that as she's just trying to get, stuff off of her sentences?
Exactly. Now, in a letter to her brother, Louis Jr., Donna stated that she had decided to go to Internal Affairs because Averick had continually demanded sexual favors from her and had threatened to report her relationship with Lieutenant Black. Now, since she did truly like Lieutenant Black and didn't want to see his career harmed because of her, she decided to come clean about it to Internal Affairs.
Oh. Still, that's not going to be good for him, is it still?
For either, no.
No.
Now, when questioned by Internal Affairs, Larry Averick would claim that he had not harassed Donna, but rather he was pressing her hard to gain her confidence, and that it was part of his own investigation into Lieutenant Black's involvement with sex workers.
Of course it is.
So Averick now is playing Miami Vice.
He's a good guy. Yeah, he's a good guy. He's just pushing hard on her. Nothing to do with his own, sexual urges or anything.
No, I'm sure that part of it was, he wanted to.
Yeah, wants to
investigate,
get Black
get
in
the dirt.
Trouble. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm sure he's also trying to get other things too.
Yeah, I bet he is.
All right.
Yeah. None of that will go on record.
Now, Averick would admit to writing the letter in support of Donna for her sentencing hearing, but would deny having sex with her or giving her inside information of when Vice was becoming aggressive against sex workers. So that was another one of the accusations from Donna was that Averick was tipping her off when there's going to be like Vice crackdowns.
But then that's easy to prove because if she's right at the times that he's told her, then obviously she's getting the information from him. So that's an easy one for them to prove.
Oh, no, absolutely. Now, as a result of the Internal Affairs investigation, both Larry Averick and Carl Black were fired from the San Diego Police Department. But Black would almost immediately be rehired, but would be demoted to sergeant.
Oh.
Okay. Now, Averick would always claim that there was no indecent relationship between him and Donna.
Uh-huh.
But you remember how I said earlier that as part of her job working for Internal Affairs, she was required to wear a wire?
Yeah.
Guess who she was able to capture on wire?
Oh, the ultra innocent
Larry Averick.
Larry Averick.
So in one of the recordings that she has of Averick, I'll read to you the transcript, all right? So this is Larry Averick. So your girlfriend's coming over. Donna. Yes. Averick, you had plans for me first, then I took second place. Donna, I wouldn't say it like that. I haven't seen her in a while, and it's nice to have a girl to talk to. Averick, uh-huh. Donna, I'm sure I'll see you again. Averick, you're sure? How are you sure? Another time? Donna, huh? Averick, so I want to get to see your pretty face. Donna, So,
Doesn't sound like an appropriate conversation when you look at it in that context.
no, absolutely not.
He's a sleaze.
Well, let's be fair. I think a lot of people in San Diego Police Department this time were sleaze.
Yeah, at this time they were. Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
They're popping people all over the place.
Yep. Now, on March 13th, 1985, Donna had attempted to appeal her latest prostitution conviction, but it was denied. She was sentenced to 90 days at the Las Colinas detention facility as part of her work furlough program.
Right.
Now, she would end up being released on May 5th, 1985, after serving 53 days. During her time in jail, Donna would write letters indicating that she feared for her life once she was released. She believed that both Averick and Black would have felt betrayed by her and would be very angry.
Yeah, I agree with her. I'd be worried too.
Absolutely. Now, despite wanting to leave town as soon as possible, Donna would move in with a family of a close friend in the North Park neighborhood of San Diego. And she began working a 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. security job for Timmons. Now, on May 16th, 1985, and this is 11 days after she was released, Donna would once again face Larry Averick when he filed an appeal on his disciplinary action levied against him to the Civil Service Commission. Now, Donna had been called to be a witness at the hearing, which was being covered by all of the local news stations. Now, Donna once again repeated the details of her contact and relationship with Averick and Carl Black. The Civil Service Commission would uphold most of the original charges against Averick, but would dismiss the sexual harassment claim against him.
Right.
Now, with the other charges upheld, this would ensure that Averick's dismissal from the police department would stand.
God.
Now, for Donna, the outcome of the Civil Service Commission hearing might have been worse.
Oh no.
Since the hearing was covered by local news outlets, it became public knowledge that not only was Donna a sex worker, but she was also a police informant.
Oh no, it's just getting worse and worse for her.
It does. Let me just mention this. It was highly unusual for the news to be covering the civil service commissions. It never happened before.
No, I was going to say that's a bit strange, isn't it? Because it's like local stuff. So why would they be covering that? It's not like it's huge news.
There is belief that both Larry Averick and his lawyer had tipped off the news media and encouraged them to attend. Believing that with the cameras being there, that Donna would relent on some of her accusations.
Yeah.
On June 23rd, 1985, just 5 weeks after the hearing, the body of Donna Gentile was found in underbrush near a highway exit in the remote mountain area of Mount Laguna, 30 miles east of San Diego. Donna was naked with her clothes piled on top of her. The clothing had been cut on the side from the bottom up along the seam. A pair of her pantyhose laid on the ground next to her body. Several fibers were recovered from the pantyhose, which included tan wool fibers and acrylic fibers, consistent with the fibers found on sheepskin seat covers. A single yellow earring was found on the ground next to her, but its pair was missing. Now, Donna's autopsy was officially sealed in 1985, which was the very first autopsy to officially be sealed in San Diego County and remains so to this day.
Still sealed now.
Yep, it is sealed.
Okay.
Now, San Diego County policy allows a law enforcement agency to keep autopsies secret by submitting an annual sealing request to the medical examiner's office.
Okay.
So
I can understand why.
Year, But so put it this way: every year since 1985, someone has sent in a letter to the medical examiner's office saying, "Keep this sealed."
Wow, that's crazy. I can understand why they keep certain bits sealed, because obviously, if there's evidence in there that would only the killer would know, then they don't really want to make that public, because then everybody knows it. So I get that, but that's
What's insane about this is if you were to file a request, it says that they can't release it because of it being an ongoing investigation. However, San Diego police have stated that they're currently not following any leads. They're not actually actively investigating her death at all.
But it's not a closed case. It's not officially closed, is it? Or
Exactly.
cold. So they're not actively investigating, so they can keep it open as a case. But that's crazy.
Yeah.
So these tan seat covers.
Yep.
Is that something that is very common, or is that a particular kind of, because sheepskin covered seats, but then I suppose we're talking back in the 80s, but still, that's...
I don't think so. I don't think it'd be common.
No. I mean, I don't remember having those when I was a kid. I don't remember anyone I know having sheepskin covers, but
I can like picture them.
Yeah, I can picture them.
But I don't remember anyone really having them.
No. It's weird. What about law enforcement? Do they have seat covers?
No, I don't think so. It'd have to. It would have to be a privately owned
a white,
car.
clean one. Okay.
Yeah. Now, while the autopsy has been sealed, some information about it has come out. Okay.
Okay.
Now, Donna had been beaten around the head and strangled, and had at least one possible bite mark on her body.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
She had numerous fractures in her neck and back, including the fracturing of her C2 vertebrae, which may have caused paralysis. Now, worst of all, it's very violent. Worst of all, Donna had dirt and gravel stuffed in her mouth. Her death certificate lists cause of death as manual strangulation and airway obstruction by foreign material. Right. This means that the dirt and gravel, which was forced into her mouth, occurred while she was still alive.
Yeah. Oh, bless her.
Now, I have seen where people have mentioned that having dirt and gravel put into your mouth, stuffed in your mouth, and being killed, that's like it's a way of calling a person a snitch. Like this is a snitch, right? This is what a snitch.
Oh.
I've only found one instance in which someone had been murdered and was found with gravel. It occurred in 1979, and I believe it was in New Jersey, and it occurred between some young teenage boys. And it was done because one of the boys was going to tell the other boys about a robbery or something, right? So they shoved like pebbles and stuff in his mouth. However, what I did find, which I found very, very interesting, is there's a proverb right in the Bible. So Proverbs 20:17, which is food gained by fraud tastes sweet, but one ends up with a mouthful of gravel.
Oh. Wow.
So to me, I really think that is someone this is making an example of her.
Yeah, this is somebody who is got some sort of religious beliefs there then. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would think that's more likely.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Toxicology reports showed that Donna did have cocaine in her system, and forensic samples collected from Donna's body did test positive for semen and saliva on multiple parts of her body.
So this is what I was wondering. I wonder if somebody has picked her up, they've done coke together, and then this person has unleashed like the fury on her.
Yeah.
But actually she's thinking that they've picked her up for, sex or whatever. And that's what I was going to ask you. Was there any signs of anything like that? Was there any signs of her having been raped or anything like that? But obviously, I guess with a sex worker,
It'd be
it would be
tough.
difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because, she might have had sex with multiple people, in a couple of days. And semen can stay in the body for, you can have multiple sorts of semen in there. But that's interesting. I wonder if that was the MO.
But let me make this. This is interesting about the semen, right?
Uh-huh.
It was noted that there was no spermatoza found in the semen.
Oh,
there was
so
no sperm.
Jappa.
There was no sperm in the semen.
So somebody was firing blanks. That
So
can't be hard
either.
to. Yeah.
So is it a case of someone infertile, or is it
Yeah.
someone that has had a vasectomy?
Had the snip. Yeah.
Yeah.
But to get sperm samples, that's quite easy to sort of just differentiate between one person and the next.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Okay.
Now, what's interesting is, so even though there's no sperm, there is a possibility of still being able to get DNA from
I was going to
the
ask, can
semen.
you get DNA still?
Yeah, it would be coming from like cells within the lining of the urethra.
That's easy for you to say.
I know, but it's not guaranteed that you'd be able to find anything suitable for testing.
So if you know that you've either had a vasectomy or that you've got no sperm count, that they can't find DNA from that, then you can do, lots of different things.
Yeah,
Wow.
exactly. Now there's I wonder if they had to have taken the sample. They have the saliva sample, so of course you should be able to find some sort of DNA from the saliva.
From that one, yeah.
Well, if they still have the samples, if the samples are still viable, and if they actually are willing to test the samples, right?
Yeah, that's right. If the police department hasn't been flooded somewhere and they've lost all the information.
Right. So before we get into really what we think happened, I think there's two possibilities, right? Either she was murdered by a cop or cops.
Yeah.
Or she was murdered as a part of a series of murders that occurred in San Diego to prostitutes at this time. So when Donna was murdered, she was the first of at least 45 prostitutes that were killed in San Diego between 1985 and like the early 90s.
No way. 45.
45. Now, my problem with this is one, not all the murders were occurred by the same person. So it wasn't one person that killed all 45. Okay. The other thing is her murder was unlike any of the other ones. So if you were to look at MO and how she was found, if having gravel and dirt put in her mouth, being beaten and strangled, you can't find anything that definitively says, okay, you can see these two women, they were killed by the same person.
So that makes me think that it's got nothing to do with all those.
It's possible. Yeah.
There doesn't seem to be any correlation. I mean, if you get out of those 45 women, maybe 2 have got dirt in their mouths, or, maybe one's got dirt in their mouths, but they've all got bite marks on their butt cheeks, or, they've all got something. There's nothing. If she's got nothing the same as the other people, even if they weren't all killed by the same person, if she doesn't correlate with anybody, then the chances are, I mean, out of those other 40, she was the first, you say?
And then it carried on after that. Of a
Okay.
series. That's correct. Yes.
Okay, so then after that, nothing. You would think if somebody started the first one, then they've done that once. So the next one would be similar, at least, in that they've already done it once, so they know what they've encountered with the first one, so they know what not to do next time. So you would think that they would be, you'd have some similarities in those. Mm-hmm. And that's strange that there is nothing. There's nothing to link her to any of those others.
Yeah.
And the others link up We can link the others together.
Some of them, yeah, some of them are.
Yeah.
Some of them are linked. Yes,
Right.
absolutely.
Okay. So you can group some together then.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So let me. I'm going to start with this. Okay, and this is another woman who was murdered.
Right.
Who was a friend of Donna's. Her name was Cynthia Main. Okay.
Oh, I know that
Now,
name, don't I?
Cynthia Main and Donna were the first two paid informants of the San Diego Police Department of Internal Affairs.
Oh, okay.
And both were murdered.
Both ended up dead.
They both ended up dead. Now, uh, while people have tried to link these two together, their murders were completely different. But it's still interesting that two women within internal affairs ended up dead.
And also, if you know the process of investigation and you know the process of looking for patterns and you know the process of looking for similarities, surely you would make sure that there was no similarities and there was no patterns to make sure that somebody didn't go, oh, these are linked.
Yeah. But however, this is what's interesting too. Okay. Mm-hmm. So there was a gentleman by the name of Captain Mike Tyler, who was the head of the criminal intelligence unit of the San Diego Police Department, who worked on Cynthia Main's murder, along with some of these other prostitute murders.
Yeah.
Now, Tyler owned a business called Tyler's Feed, which was located in Alpine.
Right.
It would supply hay and grain to a stable where Donna would ride horses. And in fact, she actually stabled her own horse there. She had a horse. She owned a horse named Fantasia that she kept at this stable.
Okay? Right. Okay.
Now, before Mike Tyler retired from the Eastern Division of the police department, he ordered another sergeant and his officers not to cooperate with the San Diego County Sheriff's Department investigation into Donna's homicide.
Oh.
So.
Oh, man.
So there's one person, okay, that has a connection to Donna who is not working with the investigation.
Okay.
So that's someone to think about.
Yeah.
Now, before we get to some other police, the first person that police tried to link her murder to was surprisingly the Green River Killer.
Oh,
who ended up being Gary Ridgway, right?
Yeah.
So there was thought at the time that the Green River Killer had moved from Washington down to San Diego and continued killing in San Diego.
And is there any proof that he moved or
no?
Right. Okay. Right. Okay. They're clutching at straws there then.
Yeah, there was. So, but there was a man who was arrested in San Diego by the name of Glenn Waters, who was believed to have been the Green River Killer.
Okay.
And so he was arrested, and it was believed that he had killed Donna.
Right.
Okay. However, after a year in prison, all the evidence that was manufactured against Glenn Waters was dismissed, and he was let go.
Oh my God.
So everything that got him arrested was made up by the police. It was fake.
No.
Yeah.
This is so corrupt.
Yeah.
See, listening to this, I think this sounds to me like she was killed by somebody on the job, I think. This sounds to me like she was killed by a police officer of some sort or orchestrated by a police officer.
But let me
give
you one other. However, okay. Listen to this. Listen to this. Okay. So there was also a woman by the name of Karen Wilkening, who was also known as a Rolodex Madam. Now she had associations with both the police. She was connected to a detective, John Lusardi, who was he was a part of a task force that was investigating some of these murders, including Donna's. And she also had a connection to Donna herself. Now, Wilkening was with Donna at a party 3 days prior to her murder. Okay.
Yeah.
She then allegedly provided 20 young escorts to a Texas millionaire by the name of Don Dixon,
Oh
who
my
was holding
God.
a party at his Solana Beach home the night that Donna went missing. Now, 2 days after her murder, nude photographs of Donna showed up at his house.
Oh my God.
So, Don Dixon at some point
Yeah.
had a connection
With
with
Donna.
Donna. Don Dixon would frequently have these parties where he would have sex workers,
Mm,
escorts, prostitutes attend.
right.
Donna was at one of these parties right before she was murdered.
Yeah.
She's murdered. Nude photos show up of her. Possibility.
Wowzers. Yeah. And that woman is connected to the police
That
as
woman
well
is
as.
connected to the police.
Mm,
Yes. She has her own interesting story, but we won't get into that.
yeah. Wow, this is messed up.
I mean, we can go. I mean, we can go and we talk about numerous people who they tried to pin
Yeah, I
Donna's
remember you
murder on.
saying to me there was a lot of people
There are.
that you could talk on and on and on about it.
The problem was that at this time, after Donna's murder, there was a task force that was created that
Yeah.
was its job was to investigate these murders, all these prostitute murders. The
Yeah.
problem was is they weren't necessarily investigating the murders. What they were doing was they were trying to gather information, not gather information. They were trying to basically prove that the police had nothing to do with any of the murders. Okay.
Okay.
So I believe it was in 1983, the task force announced that no police officers were involved in Donna Gilente's murder.
Of course they did. They're not going to be able to. No, I don't believe. I'm not sure on that. I'm
No.
not sure. There's too many police involved with this girl, and she's upset too many people, and too many jobs have been on the line because of her. I just in my gut and listening to. I mean, who's going to know how to cover up a crime? Who's going to know people they could pay off to commit crimes for them that that they don't need to necessarily be there, but
Mm-hmm.
you got somebody who's working for you that you've got dirt on and that you could turn the other way whilst things are happening and they could make it happen. There's an agreement right there without actually having anything concrete and written down. It's done on an understanding that I'll turn my eyes away from your illegal activity if you make sure this girl doesn't make it out of the party alive.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know I don't know, that's awful. What a life Donna's had. I feel so sorry for her. She's
Yeah.
had it really tough from the very start. She's just trying to make, unfortunately she's just got this thing about cops, and she's trying to make her way and as best she can, and she's just got herself into such a muddle,
She
and
did.
it's ultimately ended up in her. I just hate the fact that she was just dumped at the side of the road like rubbish and just left there. That always really annoys me in
Yeah.
cases like that, like the girls that we did, the Grimes sisters. I hate that they were just left at the side of the road, and no one deserves that. And I don't know how you can have the conscience to do something like that to somebody. I just think that's just
I
awful.
I don't think it was one person that was involved.
I
Just
don't
one
think so
person.
either.
I think
Yeah,
it
no,
is
I
at
agree
least
with
two
you.
people.
Yeah,
Especially if you
I
think
agree.
about the fact that she had, dirt and gravel shoved in her mouth.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
going to need to have her under control in order to
yeah,
do something, right?
yeah. It might have just been one person that lured her somewhere, but I definitely think it was more than one.
Yeah.
And also, that's the other thing. It's not necessarily two men. It could be that she was going on a job with another woman. I mean, she's going to these parties where there's multiple women sort of working together. It could be that her and another sex worker were with this guy or whatever. That's what makes me think that someone's picked her up in a car and that's how
Hmm.
they've got her away and on her own.
Yeah.
Was there anything to say that she was killed where she was found? Or do we think
She
she was
was
just dumped
she was killed
there?
when she was found. No, she
Right,
would have been
okay.
because she had the dirt and
Oh,
gravel in her
the
in
dirt
her
from there.
airwave. Yes.
Right, okay,
Yep.
from that area. Right. So then somebody who knows that area knows. So where did you say it was? It was on the hard shoulder, did you say?
Yeah, it was some
Of the eye.
underbrush off the
Right.
off ramp in Mount Laguna. So there was it's almost like a little ravine
Yeah.
Because it goes down, and the only reason she was found was there happened to be a guy walking his dog the day after she was dumped, or the day of that she was dumped later on that day, who happened to
Right.
see her. If he hadn't been walking with a dog,
She probably wouldn't have been found.
never been found.
Right.
She had no identification on her. She had her purse. Everything was gone. So the
Gone.
only thing that
Yeah.
was left were her clothes. The other interesting thing is that the scene was completely wiped clean. So
Yes, I was going to say that to you. Somebody who's forensically aware. They've taken away all identification. So somebody whose identification, they're forensically aware of what could lead them. Is it not a quick identification? It slows the case down. Damn, this has definitely got something to
they
do with someone in law enforcement. Definitely,
they swept up all
definitely.
footprints, any shoe prints, everything was swept up. Tire tracks were swept up. Everything was swept up.
That's mad.
Mhm.
Definitely.
You want to hear something else crazy? So I talked about the Rolodex madam. I'm just going to
Yeah.
mention this real quickly. How crazy her connection with police and government
Yeah.
is. All right.
Yeah.
So in her Rolodex, so she's called the Rolodex madam because of obviously she had a Rolodex of all her clients.
All of her
Okay.
people. Yeah.
So at the time of this, the sheriff of San Diego County was a man by the name of Bill Colander. Okay. So
Yeah.
just remember that. So I'm just going to list off a name of people that they found in her Rolodex. I'm not going to actually give the names. I'll just give you what they did. All right. So
Give us
first
the
off,
names.
Bill Colander's barber. So the sheriff's
Oh,
barber was in
come
it.
on.
There was at least one police officer was in there. Donna Gentile's property manager was in it. Okay. There was at least one San Diego philanthropist. There was a friend of former President Gerald Ford. There was a San Diego defense attorney.
She was
There
making
was
some money.
a former city manager. There was another police officer. There was a doctor, an actor, a campaign contributor to Sheriff Bill Colanders. There was
Oh, and his
there actually
barber.
there were two. There were two contributors to Colander for sheriff. There was multiple doctors, multiple attorneys. So yeah.
So all high earning men.
Mm-hmm. Oh, a professional wrestler,
There you go. See, all high earning people.
Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan killed.
No.
I don't know if it
Oh
was Hulk
my.
Hogan.
No, I was going to say, don't spread those rumors. That's crazy.
No. Yeah. So there
Mm,
are plenty people. There are plenty
definitely.
of people with connections that could commit this crime
Yeah.
and get
And get away
walk
with
away,
it.
get away with it. Yeah.
But you obviously know that if it isn't somebody who is law enforcement, it's going to be somebody who has been briefed, because that not everybody has got the know-how to sweep a scene like that, to get rid to to sweep away the footprints, sorry, to remove all the identification, to make sure that they're not seen. So this has been set up, and if somebody hasn't done this with that knowledge, then somebody's been given that knowledge to carry this out.
Yeah.
Because normally if it's a crime of passion and it's off the hook, it's just done there and then, in a moment of passion madness, then you wouldn't panic and clean up as well as that. So we know that this is pre-planned. So either this murder's been ordered, or somebody's done it of their own will to go and do it. So to me, I think it's been ordered.
Do you want to hear something that's going to really piss you off?
Oh no, no. This is like the most frustrating case, I think.
No, this is going to make you extremely angry. If you're not angry, you're there's something wrong with you.
Go.
So at the time, there was a policy within San Diego Police Department to basically mark the murders of prostitutes as NHI. Okay,
Okay.
NHI stood for no human involved.
Oh my god, that's disgusting.
So basically, they would consider it. Well, they were doing something illegal they shouldn't have been doing. They got murdered, and they treated these murders as basically no more than misdemeanors.
What is
So
wrong with people?
they would barely investigate. They would do the bare minimum to investigate because they didn't consider these murders to have any human
That's disgusting. That is
involved in it.
really disgusting. I don't understand why they don't legalize prostitution. I don't understand why they don't legalize it and tax it, because then it's seen as a profession. If you want to do that as a profession in
Mhm.
a licensed building and that's what you want to do, go and do it. I don't think that these women should be in trouble then for working in that profession, as long as you're doing it in an establishment where it's then you've got no drug, what they call pimps. You've got no pimps that are controlling them with
Yeah.
drugs. You've got nobody who's putting them in danger. They're in a
Mhm.
licensed building that is then regulated. Somebody goes around and checks it to make sure that everything's okay. And then if they're on the street doing it,
Yeah.
then get them in trouble. But
Yeah,
I just don't
yeah,
understand.
and
I don't
they're
get
they're
that.
they're tested for any type of
Exactly, and they're looked after.
diseases, and they're taken
Yeah.
care of, and they can probably get, and they're not marginalized. Yeah, you're
No,
absolutely
and
right.
they would then be able to earn money. They would be safely earning money, and then they would be able to then make a better life for themselves. Because let's face it, women that are in that kind of profession are usually going around in circles. It's usually that they're trying to earn money to get quite a lot of them are trying to earn money to get their GEDs, or they're trying to earn money to better their lives because they don't want to do that as a
They're
profession.
Yeah, they're trying to survive.
Yeah, and it's one of the oldest professions in human history. It's that one thing that everybody is able to do that can earn you money. But I don't understand why they don't legalize it in certain places and allow these women to build themselves a
Yeah.
future rather than letting them down time after time after time. They get hooked on drugs, because I don't blame them for being hooked on the drugs, because who wants to do that? Who wants some,
Yeah.
weird, sweaty person coming in, and you know, they're not all Brad Pitts coming in to have sex with you, are they? So
No, no.
I think, I find that sex workers have failed so badly all the time, and like it's like no one cares. No one gives a shit because that's what they do. That's just so inhumane.
Yeah.
I hate it when people go, "Oh, well, we didn't investigate that back in the 80s because it was just a prostitute."
It's just a
But it's
prostitute.
not just a prostitute. It's someone's daughter, someone's sister. It's a human being. Like, what is wrong with us? I'm getting so mad. I'm banging on the desk.
No, and you have every right to be mad.
Oh, I'm
Every
so
right.
mad. I hate it.
It's absolutely insane. So let me. Okay, I guess to wrap this up, I do not think Larry Averick had anything to do with his murder, and I'll tell
Okay.
you why.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
By this point, Larry Averick has no friends within the police department.
Right.
He has been fired. Even before that, he was considered, like, I don't want to say the black sheep, but he there was like they looked bad. He had this like this red A on his
Yeah.
uniform, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So he has no friends within the police department, and I don't think anyone's going to go out the limb to like protect Larry Averick at this point.
Right.
All
Okay.
right. Um, Carl Black,
I was just
possibly.
going to say, what about Carl Black?
Carl Black, possibly. Now, but here's the thing, too. While we just focus on these two people because they're the main people within the story, right? Donna had at least turned in 7 police officers to internal affairs.
Right. Okay.
So there's other people that could possibly have done this or have worked together to do this.
Yeah. So people that
Right?
have got a grudge or a means.
Just imagine if you are a officer who, was put on probation or got in trouble because of your connection with sex workers, and
Yeah.
you got busted by internal affairs. After this hearing, you find out, oh, she's an informant. I know who she is.
Mm,
I've talked to her before. She must have turned me into internal affairs.
yeah.
Then so it's not just 2 enemies that Donna had.
No, you've got
She had
several pissed
numerous.
off people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing is that Donna was at this party. So it could have nothing to do with those police officers whatsoever. It could be that she has seen someone at the party that she shouldn't have done, or something's happened at the party that she shouldn't have witnessed. And that's why she's ended up dead.
There's there's police officers that were probably at that party.
Exactly.
You
I
know what
mean,
I
that's the
mean?
other thing. I'd be interested to see the guest list to this party. Not
Yeah.
that there's going to actually be a physical guest list, but I would like to see it because I
Mhm.
guarantee it. That madam with the Rolodex, I would imagine her clients that she's got, and this like billionaire guy or this millionaire guy, he's going to have a lot of affluent friends. So you're
Yeah.
talking about it's going to be affluent businessmen or high up people that are going to be
Mhm.
within this party. It's not as if he's just going to invite all the people down his street. It's not going to be
Oh, yeah,
just Joe
yeah.
Public. This is going
Yeah.
to be people of a certain stature.
Mhm.
So she could have seen somebody there that she wasn't supposed to, or she could have been involved with something, seen something that she wasn't supposed to see, that then she's had to have been eliminated because it's, she's just collateral damage.
Yeah. Before we wrap this up, let me tell you one more thing, which may anger you.
Oh, no, not again. I've had enough anger for one episode.
Okay. So a few weeks prior to her death,
Mm.
Donna made a tape recorded message and gave it to her attorney, who was
Mm.
his name was Douglas Holbrook.
Okay.
Now, because of all the scandals that was going on with the police department and reporting Averick to Internal Affairs, she, of course, feared for her life.
Mm.
After her death on July 5th, 1985, San Diego news station KGTV played this audio recording on
So
air.
what did she give it to her attorney for? Like to play in case she died or something?
In case she disappeared or she died.
Holy shit.
She stated, "In case I disappear somewhere or I'm missing, I want my lawyer to give this to the press. I have no intentions of disappearing or going out of town without letting my lawyer know first. Because of the publicity that I have given a police scandal, this is the reason why I'm making this. I feel someone in a uniform with a badge can still be a serious criminal. This is the only life insurance that I have."
Oh my God. So she knew. She knew something bad was going to happen to her.
She knew.
She should have given it all up on the tape.
She knew. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
that makes me even more sad for her because she knew something was going to happen to her. So she's been threatened, hasn't she, by somebody? There's
Yeah.
been threats to her. She
Mhm.
knows that she's in deep shit. Oh,
I
it makes
wish she
me
would have
so
just
mad.
given a
Yeah.
name. I wish she would have just given a name or something.
Because she obviously had the foresight to do that. She knew something was going bad. Why
Mhm.
didn't she just spill everything onto that tape to her attorney?
Yeah.
How horrible is that for the attorney as well? That she did actually end up being brutally murdered, and
Oh,
that's
absolutely
your
terrible. Yeah.
client. That's awful.
Yeah.
Oh, Donna. So frustrating.
Very. So what's really sad? So Donna knew that she needed to get out. Donna wanted to get out.
Yeah.
She wanted to go
Yeah.
back to Philadelphia. She wanted to. She hadn't seen her family in years, but she couldn't. She couldn't. She didn't have the money. She had nothing
No.
to get out there.
And to me, this makes me mad because if the mum had believed her in the beginning, or at least taken what she had said with some sort of credit, she probably wouldn't have been in this problem. I mean, if you've
Yeah.
got a kid that's behaving themselves all the way up until a point where you marry a new guy, and then all of a sudden she's saying to you, the new guy is behaving inappropriately, why would she lie if she's been good up until this point?
Yeah.
Listen
Yeah.
to your kids, it's
Mhm.
just, and that start in life just hasn't really she hasn't really had a good life at all.
She never was given a
Bless her.
chance.
She wasn't given a
She
chance.
wanted to better
Yeah,
herself.
she's
And if
trying.
you can go and you can actually on YouTube, you can go and you can watch like the news reports of like the civil service hearing, right? And
Yeah.
you could watch her and you could listen to her. You can see she's a very intelligent young woman.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's so frustrating.
It really is.
I just
I I don't think that unless someone decides to take a deep look internally
No,
into
no,
San Diego police or San Diego County sheriffs, that I don't think this case is ever going to solve. I don't think they even at this point. I
no.
don't think they care to even
That's the
have it
problem.
solved.
Exactly. I think that's exactly you're right. I think that's exactly the problem is that she is just going to be labeled as another prostitute, another sex worker, that they're not going to bother. They're not going to bother going and looking into this because it's going to be too complicated for them. It's going to cost too much money and it's going to take up too much time. They're not going to bother with this because who's fighting for this? Where's her parents and her family saying, what happened? Why is she dead? Who did this? How did
Mhm.
she get there? Have you looked into this person? Have you looked into that person? And why not? There's no one fighting for her. She's just, that's it.
There, so she has at least one. Okay, so um, there's a lot that I've left out of this because if
There's
I
so
were to
much, isn't there?
if
Yeah.
I would have gone over everything, this would have been numerous episodes.
Yeah.
There are two great books out there that if you are interested in this case, if you want to learn more and see exactly how everything kind of stitches together and what Donna had to go through, there's two. There's one which is the Donna Gentile story,
Hmm.
which was written by Anita Di Francesco, who is
Yeah.
actually Donna's cousin. Okay.
Right. Okay.
Now this one's interesting because Anita had access to all of the letters that Donna had written to family members. So she had
Excellent.
letters. She had letters
Yeah.
to her mom, to her brother. Um, so she was able to kind of get an understanding of what Donna was going through, and
From
and
her
it's
own words, which is
from her
great.
own
Yeah.
words. Yeah.
Which is brilliant. Yeah.
Now Larry Averick actually wrote a book as well called "Who Killed Donna Gentile."
What? Oh my
Yes,
God.
which he is, from what I can tell, and I've read both of them. Larry Averick is, when it comes to his relationship with Donna, he is 75% truthful at least.
Okay.
So
Right. Okay.
he never denied like him having like some sort of relationship or friendship with Donna.
Uh-huh.
He denies any type of sexual relationship with her, which I think there was some sort of sexual relationship at some point.
Right. I've just found his
Um,
book actually. I've just found it.
mhm.
Who Killed
It's
Donna Gentile? The Real Story. Larry S. Averick.
Yep, they're both
He
very
looks,
good.
doesn't he look like a typical 80s cop?
He
Look, when you
does.
see the pictures of
Uh
him,
huh.
doesn't he look? He looks like the Met, like the coppers in Mindhunter. He looks like the typical 80s
Yeah.
tash and suit. He looks, yeah. I mean, she's a beautiful girl. She's a really pretty girl. What a shame.
Hmm.
I know,
It really.
even if she wasn't a really beautiful girl, it wouldn't matter. It's the whole point of it is this. It's just really sad. I'm glad that her her cousin's fighting for some sort of answers because I'm going to read that book. I'm going to get that. I'm going to read it because I'd be interested to see the difference between the two, between
Yeah.
her story and his story. I'd be very interested to read those one after the other and see how they differ.
Yeah.
Hmm.
No, it's really good. And so, like within Anita's books, she has actually excerpts from letters that Donna had
Mm.
written. So it is really it's definitely interesting.
Yeah. Oh, what an interesting case. Although I feel like this sort of this case particularly could be one that you would just never be able to put down because I think you would just
Mhm.
keep uncovering more and more and more. It's I mean she's gone from being a witness of stuff to then being a murder victim,
Yeah.
and to me the people that she's witness against have a lot of power, and
Hmm.
I don't think, I
And
think even if you did go and do this, I don't think you would solve it because there's too many people trying to protect themselves.
yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
What a shame. What a shame.
I mean, I would love to talk to her cousin Anita and
We
actually
should
Larry
reach out to
Averick.
her.
Yeah,
Yeah, we should reach out to them because it would be very interesting and we can maybe do a follow-up episode on it because I think it would be quite an interesting, because I feel like you've just literally scratched the surface of
I did.
this.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely.
And I think that you could probably look into this and you could do a whole series on it because it sounds that in depth, I think.
It is extremely in depth.
Mm.
You know, Donna did what she thought she needed to do to survive, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, unfortunately, I think she got herself in too deep,
Too deep.
and
Yeah.
she couldn't
With the wrong
get out
kind of
of it.
people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And then she ended up being silenced because that's ultimately what's happened. They've
She
shut
was
her up.
silenced. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what they've done. They've shut her up. So she knew things that she shouldn't know.
I
So
think she probably.
someone has shut her up.
I think she probably knew some other things. I think
Yeah.
it wasn't just like what she had known and what she'd come out instead. I think she
Yeah.
knew other things.
Yeah, I think so too. Because from what you've just told me, that isn't major stuff that, other than somebody being a bit annoyed with her, I don't know. I think there's something more to this.
Yeah.
Oh, poor Donna.
It's a very sad story.
It is a really sad story. It's a frustrating story, I think, as well.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
You're
Great episode
welcome.
as always. I feel like you're just telling me stories. It's great. Sit and listen and hear it all. It's really interesting. What were the names of those? What were the names of those books again? Can you remind me?
Yeah, it was the Donna Gentile story by
Mm-hmm.
Anita Di Francesco.
Yeah, so could check that out. That's by her cousin. And then there was the one by the police officer.
By Larry Averick. It was Who Killed Donna Gentile, the real story.
I've just seen, I think you can get them on Amazon. You can get them on like Apple Books or stuff like that. You can get them for like £6 on Amazon. So it's like really cheap.
Nothing. Yeah.
I'm gonna go and pick those up, I think, and have a read. Thank you. That was a really good case. It's a really interesting case. I'm gonna go and have a read about that, I think. So
It's really good.
to cheer you up after that horrible story, should we ask the captain to sort us out a dumb criminal?
Let's do it.
Hey, Captain Stupid Poopy Pants. Use a dummy.
Now, this dumb criminal for this episode is a real dumb criminal. Okay. So Mitchell Deslati, I think that's how you say it, Mitchell Deslati, walked into a Baton Rouge, Louisiana hotel a little bit worse for wear. So he's pulled into the car park, quite obviously having had a few too many drinks, gone into the hotel and asked the clerk for a room.
Yep.
However, the clerk wasn't a clerk. He was a state trooper.
Oh,
and
no.
the hotel wasn't actually a hotel. It was a state trooper station.
Oh.
So that is when Deslati was arrested and charged with driving whilst intoxicated. I think that's got to be my favourite dumb criminal so far. What a silly man.
He was like, where's your bellboy?
Yeah, I need a room. I've had too much to drink. And he's like, I'll give you a room for free. Come with me, young man.
I mean, part of me feels bad for him because he's like trying to he's like, I can't be driving. I gotta just stay at a hotel. But then it's like, no.
Didn't he read the signs? Did he even look?
No.
Like, I'm sure a state trooper's station has got something to say it's the trooper station outside. Oh, it just tickles me. Like, I've got tears in my eyes. It just tickled me when I read that. I was just like, I can't believe of all the places,
How do you mistake that for like a hotel or motel or something? That's crazy.
I have no idea. But yeah, he did get arrested and charged for drinking whilst intoxicated.
Poor guy.
I know, poor guy. There we are. That's this week's dumb criminal for you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
No worries. We will be back next week with another case. It'll be my case next week. So in the meantime, you can catch us on all our social media channels as always. And for now, be nice.
And bye.